Hey, it's Andrew Huang, and today we are looking at Teenage Engineering's P.O.33 knockout pocket operator. And we're also going to be looking at, I was saving this for later, but we're also going to be looking at the P.O.35 Speak. The P.O.35 Speak. These little things are the newest in Teenage Engineering's pocket operator series, and a lot of you have been asking me for a video about them, so here we go. Today I want to show you their main features. I also want to talk about the big differences between the two of them, and we're gonna make some dope beats. And maybe also some really terrible bad beats. Why not? Switch it up sometimes. That was a joke, but now watch everything I make be really bad. Ooh. So let's start with the knockout. This is basically just an awesome little sampler. You can record sounds into it either from the line in or through this microphone, and then turn them into music. These buttons labeled 1 through 16 will play sounds. You can also select different sounds by holding down sound and going through. These ones are empty right now, so you can't hear anything. Holding pattern lets you choose between 16 different patterns that you can save. And there's 2 different sections you can record sounds into. You can see that these are labeled drum and melodic. So let me show you the difference between those two. I'm gonna record to one of the melodic slots by holding record and pressing one of the slots. Let's use slot 5. And as I'm holding it down, it'll wait for a sound before it starts recording. Now, immediately that sound is mapped to different notes on all these 16 buttons. I can also pitch shift the whole sample, change the volume of this track, and hitting the effects button, I change what these knobs do. So now it goes between a low pass and a high pass filter. Pressing effects again, I get to a trim page, so I can set the start and end times of this sample. So there, I've just trimmed off the front of that sound, and now it's a little shorter and cuter and ready for making music with. Now let's look at a drum track. These are really cool because you record the same way. You hold record and press one of the drum tracks. But here you can make up to 16 sounds in a row, and it'll do its best to automatically slice them to the different numbered buttons. So let's try it. Boo! Hey! Did you guys know I'm really great at beatboxing? Boo! Hey! Did you guys know I'm really great at beatboxing? So it seems like it takes the whole recording and divides it as much as it can between the 16 slots, but also tries to get like the transients, tries to get the start of any percussive sounds. So a few of the sounds it did divide up into multiple pads. I guess because I made fewer than 16 sounds. And then yeah, I just tried to chop what I said into, you guys know I'm really great at beatboxing. I mean, that's not really how you would use this function. It does work really well if you're just feeding it drums. You can change the pitch. Let me show you what it's like to make a track on this, and let's use the default sounds instead of the garbage that I just recorded.
Great at beatboxing.
I'm gonna select this kit, and I'm gonna sequence something by pressing right and then filling in these steps. So now these 16 buttons become a step sequencer. We could add another sound to that. How about this clap? And I'll record this part a different way. I'll press play, and I'll hold down right, and then I can play the clap in. And the pocket operator will automatically quantize it to the beat. Found a little hi-hat sound I'm gonna add in, and I'm just gonna punch it in like this. Now I want to turn the volume of that hi-hat down, but since this is already recorded, I need to hold down right while it's playing. And then adjust the volume to where I like it. And once I've recorded through the whole pattern with that volume set there, that's how it is in the pattern now. You can hear I've got some swing on this beat too. That's adjusted by pressing BPM and turning the left knob. So there it's straight ahead, and we can dial in some nice swing. And then while you're holding BPM, the right knob adjusts the BPM. Let's put something melodic in now. How about this bass? And I played that in super sloppily, but it quantized it to exactly what I wanted. Let's layer that up. So here we're running into our first limitation, which is that there is a maximum 4-voice polyphony on the pocket operator, and the melodic voices get priority. Our clap is kind of getting taken out here because some of the melodic notes are overlapping onto it. So that is one of the limitations to work around with this device. In this situation, I might go back to our hi-hat track and find a sound that could work instead of that clap. I just noticed my audio might have been clipping a little, so sorry if the previous stuff was a little crunchy. Here's the actual audio quality off the pocket operator. If you hold down the effects button, then these 16 slots become 16 different effects. And the effects are also recordable. So if I press right first, you can see this little sort of recording looking icon lights up. Lights up? What is this technology? It darks up? And the 16th slot is like the no effects button if you want to go back in and deactivate the effects at any point, or, completely overwrite what you did because it sounds gross. So let's take a look at Speak now. Speak is also a device that you record sounds into, but the first 15 slots are all the same and they treat your samples with vocal synthesis. So let's record an example. 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 So those are the 8 different synthesis modes. You can also pitch shift your samples. So let's record an example. So let's record an example. And there's formant shifting. So let's record an example. So let's record an example. And then pressing effects switches those 2 knobs functions to trimming and speed. So let's record an example. 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 Now, the 16th channel on Speak is a drum synthesizer. And I guess kind of a bass synthesizer. Each of the drum sounds has a pitch control and a morph control. And if you get the separate tonic plugin on your computer, you can actually edit these sounds or create your own sounds and transfer them to the pocket operator. So let's make a quick beat.
So let's record an example. 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 So let's record an example.
So considering I made this beat in like 5 seconds and it's just me saying, so let's record an example, I think it sounds pretty good. So let's have some fun with this. I asked you guys on Twitter what I should sample, and I'm gonna take your suggestions and try and make something. I've got another video planned with a knockout, so let's just stick with the Speak right now. Is this Adam Neely?
Spaghetti.
Nice.
Spaghetti. Spaghetti.
Ooh, this is good. Yep, recording it.
Spaghetti. 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 A handbag. A handbag. 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 Spaghetti.
We're gonna make some dope beats.
Spaghetti. 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 Spaghetti.
I call this handbag spaghetti. Let's jam on it.
Spaghetti. Spaghetti. Spaghetti.
Now with the Speak, I think it's important to mention some limitations. The vocal synthesis is super cool. It lets you transform any recording into some like awesome robotic melodic thing. And the drum synthesizer is obviously really cool and has some more flexibility than a drum sampler. There are 2 things about the Speak though that would make me say it's a little more limited, and that is that it only has 2-note polyphony. And I guess because that's so simple, they didn't put a volume control for either of those parts, but I actually feel like that would be good. One little thing that I really want that probably won't affect a lot of people is I wish there were a better resolution on the effects recording.
So let's record an example. So
Did you hear that? I was trying to do this really fast vibrato, but it slows it down. But I guess I could always just record this into something else live. I'm gonna spend more time with the knockout in my next video, so please subscribe and turn on notifications if you haven't already. But in conclusion, these pocket operators have their obvious limitations, but given how tiny they are, I feel like it's also appropriate to say that they're quite powerful. What is indisputable though is that they are super fun. They make sampling and sequencing so immediate. I can't even imagine what it would have been like as a kid to have access to something so awesome and musical and that could fit inside
A handbag.